We are talking about the Christmas themed sci-fi movie. Await further instructions. Hard to know how to classify this one. Sci-fi, horror. I'm going with sci-fi. Anyway, this one is directed by a guy whose name I'm going to butcher, but I want to give it a go. And it is Johnny Kervokian. Yes, and it stars Sam Gittins, who you may know from the movie Howl. Anyway, this focuses on this particular family. Now we have this young lad, and he's got an Indian girlfriend, and he kind of is travelling to see his estranged family after some years. And he arrives there, and we've got his mum, his dad. He doesn't get on that particularly well with his father. He's got his grandfather there, his pregnant sister, and her boyfriend. Anyway, so there's, you know, kind of typical kind of Christmas drama that you kind of get through families and all that. We've probably all been there to a certain degree. Anyway, this couple, they're kind of getting a little bit fed up with it. They're just going to go back home first thing on Christmas morning. However, they wake up and they find that every exit of the house is blocked by some type of weird barrier. Every window, doors, everything, and they can't get out. And there appears to be some messages that get appearing on the TV, almost like in a kind of an emergency broadcast, which are telling various instructions. And obviously we have some people agree with what they should do, and some people don't. And there you go. Now I won't go any more into it, but that's kind of your plot. So first thing, what an original idea. So a really kind of fun premise that I don't really remember seeing anything like it before. It feels like it almost should be like a Twilight Zone or Outer Limits. I don't know if there's anything been like that on one of those shows, but it feels like a kind of a movie version of something like that. So if you're a fan of those TV shows, you may want to check this one out, because I feel that it almost is a spiritual successor to a certain degree. So that was all good. The movie actually has a lot more going on than you may initially think as well. As well as this being kind of a what's going on, there seems to be some type of menace that's kind of trapped us. This movie also has a lot of kind of social and political issues that it kind of wants to address as well. Maybe a little too much, maybe a little bit on the nose on some of them, but we have basically people, it comments on race, things like this. Obviously, this guy's got like an Indian girlfriend, so there's a lot of discussion on kind of like making assumptions about certain people, things like that. Also, how blindly we follow the TV, which is clearly the kind of the main message here. You just kind of like awaiting these instructions, and people are just doing what they say without kind of question. So there's obviously parallels that you can kind of draw here to our kind of current kind of climate in regards to the world and stuff. So there's that, and then there's other things as well, which I'm not going to kind of spell everything out for you, because I don't want this to turn into a political tirade. But suffice to say, this movie has got something to say. I feel like I said, it maybe goes a little bit too far with it, and maybe you should have, just dialed it back a bit. But nonetheless, there are certainly some kind of social messages there, shall we say. I've got to say, I thought the cast here was really fun. Sam Gittins, who plays our main protagonist, I really enjoyed him in Howl, and I really kind of enjoyed him here as well. And I really enjoyed their relationship, him and his kind of girlfriend. We've also got David Bradley here, who is a kind of a veteran actor of various things. You may have seen him in The Strain, the TV show, and he's kind of the grandfather, who is obviously very kind of set in his ways, and it shows you generations of abuse and how that kind of affects your family ultimately, and how things kind of get passed down. So again, it kind of shines light on these kind of social issues. So there's a lot kind of going on here, really, outside of it being kind of a sci-fi horror movie. When we kind of get our reveal, without kind of giving anything away here, it's kind of what I expected to a certain degree. But nonetheless, it has an exciting kind of climax. and you want to see more of this world. You want to understand more. But that kind of leads me on to some criticisms here. So I feel there's a fairly, it's difficult to say because I can't give it because it's literally the last shot of the film. But the last shot of the film shows you what's happened ultimately. However, it doesn't make sense if we're thinking about the world today and how people are kind of doing stuff all the time. Hard to kind of say what it is, but it just doesn't really make sense in regards to, I don't see how this would happen. Obviously it's just a sci-fi film, so maybe I'm thinking about it too much. But yeah, there's a bit of a plot hole in regards to that. The other main criticism I have about the story here is our family turn on each other a little bit too easily. And I feel it just goes, even despite the kind of the influence that maybe the kind of the TV has, I find it hard to believe that members of this family went to the lengths that they go to. And this is not so much the actors' fault, but the way the story is written. Some of the reactions that we have when we have things that turn bad, I don't know, again, just seem a little bit unbelievable. So I find it odd that this movie's so concerned with having these kind of social, political issues and stuff like that it wants to address, but then has fairly unrealistic character reactions and the way people kind of really are. I mean, they're not. I understand there'd be conflict and stuff, but I just think it just goes. There's a point in this movie where you think, no, that's not going to happen. That's ridiculous, and it just goes a little bit too far with, I think, trying to kind of push how much people are getting influenced and stuff like that. Some of the acting from some of the kind of the less, without picking anyone out, some of the acting as well is not as strong as others, not as strong as our main characters. But that's kind of all I will really say about the critiques, to be honest, because I actually kind of enjoyed this one. I actually thought the reveal at the end, although I have a couple of issues with it, which I can't really talk about annoyingly, I did like it, and I'm really kind of interested. I don't think it would. I think it actually works better if they don't make any sequels or anything like that. But I would be interested to sort of see where it would go and what would happen. Although I would imagine it would turn into more of just a kind of a typical kind of sci-fi fare. But I thought it was a really original idea, and it was executed pretty well. Maybe would have dialed back a little bit on the kind of the preaching, to be quite honest. But there you go. I would say this is worth a watch if you kind of want a Christmas-themed science fiction horror movie that is maybe a little bit of an original idea for what you've kind of seen a lot of these times. So I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.